evening, everybody. How are we doing tonight? Welcome back to another Real Northern Bass Talk, joined by my buddy DJ, who's made yet another appearance. You are one of a very few that have been here multiple times, but it's been a while.
Quite a few times, yeah, but it has been a little while.
I can hear audio coming through from my headphones all the way over there. We're good. Audio check. Make sure everything's good. If you hear any issues or whatever, let me know. I'll fix it on the fly. But yeah, it has been a while. I'm trying to think. What was the last one we had you on?
I think I was down here with Dennis and Andrew at one point.
Yes, and I forget what we were talking about. Then you and Alex came down. We recapped the Berkshire Fall Classic.
Yeah,
I think at the time before that. But yeah, been here a few times. Oh, anyway, glad to have you back. Who do we have in the chat? Gordy, Kara, Kevin, Mark, Dave, Jody. I still don't know DMH8. One of these days I can figure out an easy way to say your name. Alec and Mark. So tonight's plan, talk about a few things, but primarily talking about kind of like that learning curve. And I want to approach this a number of different ways, both from a beginner perspective, like intermediate, and then much more advanced, where like you've got that confidence and you're going out there and you're trying to compete. And, I felt weird writing the topic for this. Oliver, Riley, and Pfeiffer here. Hi, everybody. West Coast. Enjoy your warmth. It's freezing here. Actually, it's not that cold.
It's not that cold. It's just raining. It's gross.
Pouring. I felt like a little strange and uncomfortable even writing this topic, like just the title of it, and then trying to write a very brief description while I was posting on the socials. And because I'm like, it's almost a stupid topic, but it's really not. The meat of it will be good. Just that abbreviation of it was like, it seems, at least now at my level of understanding and knowledge, it seems like that's easy. That's a very easy answer. But that it's not that easy depending upon who you're talking to. Jody, you're not wrong there.
You're right.
And especially what skill level that you're at. And I want to talk about that from multiple perspectives, because I remember very vividly, some of my most key learning points. And as I progressed from, fishing a 4-inch black rubber worm Texas rig against the bank until I was 20 years old, and then branching out and learning from there and trying as many different avenues as I could. And that got me thinking. I was like, you know what, this could be a really fun topic, and it's something different from what I've been doing lately. So
absolutely, I agree with that 100%, because I have very humble upbringings from how I started fishing, and I pretty much started fishing from the bank, and until I was 18, got a little 16-foot dinghy to get out on the water, and now I have a Phoenix and I'm doing tournaments. Yep. And I still, to this day, when I'm teaching myself new techniques, I like to go fish on the bank.
Yeah.
I go to a couple ponds that I know, and I'll spend days and weeks learning a new technique there before I even go take it to the boat. Yep.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into that very deep. I do want to grab this. Josh, who's bassing this weekend? My wife is flipping my usual weekend routine on its head. I'll be fishing Saturday, not Sunday. And in one hand, I'm debating going for stripers because that sounds fun. But on the other hand, if the wind plays nice, I think I'd rather just go to Champlain, because it's Champlain.
It's going to be if the wind. That's the biggest deal.
I haven't looked. I'm not going to look yet. Pumpkin Fest is not till next year, Jody. So I also know is that I'm fishing. I'm not sure where. Josh, I don't know exactly where you fish, and I would never ask, but I know like kind of the general area of Mass that you fish. And that's the same general area. But I guess for me, a little further south that I spend most of my winter in. And I have been like grinding on smallmouth for the last 2 months. And there is a part of me that wants to go down your neck of the woods and go for largies with the jerkbait in the worst way. It would be nice to change things up, but
glide baits.
I know. I got to order all my stuff for my Clash 9. I got that. And I got to get the right bill and some weights and everything so I can get it to tune it. And I'm looking forward to going down there for that. With that, the jerkbaits and just like grinding largemouth. But I know that when the weather turns, that's all I get to do for 3 months. And so I'm like, I'm not really rushing to get down there yet. Pretty much the first weekend of January until about the middle to end of March, like that's all I get to do is go down there and do that. And it gets kind of old after a while. So
I sadly put my boat up because I need to get fiberglass work done.
Oh yeah. What, are you working Saturday?
Yeah.
Well, then you can't come fishing. Then can't.
I know, that's chef life. I work, work, and occasionally I get a weekend off if I'm lucky.
Yeah. Jody, wind looks decent for Champlain. Okay. That's all I need to hear. As long as it's decent or better. I gotta go fish somewhere else though. I don't want to go back to the same area I did. Getting tired of fishing the same humps over and over again.
They're there though.
I know that's the problem. They're definitely there.
And it's fun because you get a walleye here and there, and then you get a big laker here and there. And
I haven't yet. In the handful of times I've been up there
no walleye
this time of the year, no walleye, no Lakers, but Andrew got that 10-pound catfish last year.
That was funny.
So I mean, I would like to. James always smokes him up there. The guy lives up there. He knows what he's doing. But I didn't see his post. I'll have to go back and look after the stream to see how he did. But yeah, I don't know. I hope everybody else gets a chance to get out there this weekend. Fish however you want. Make it happen. More importantly, have fun. What else? One of the last things before we really truly get started, for everybody that is here, thank you very much as always. Do me a favor, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, drop a like, please. For those that shared it ahead of time, thank you very much. You guys are the real rock stars and helping this whole shindig grow. A very, very brief kind of outlook looking ahead. Week of Christmas, I think I'm just going to straight up skip the show. I don't know. Dennis is actually going to be off for 3 weeks starting next week. So I'm hoping to get him back for at least one show to talk about our best baits for 2024, because that was something he really wanted to do.
I might join you for that. That would be fun.
That would be great.
That'd be really cool.
And then shortly, I want to do that. And then the following week, baits we're looking forward to for 2025. That's going to probably be the first week of January. So take a very short break and we'll do all of that. And after that, I don't know about Dennis right now. It probably doesn't look like till April is my guess when he might come back. We'll see. And let me just talk about one thing really quick. When I started coming into the tail end of 2023, as we are now towards the tail end of 2024, I had a goal for this channel that I really wanted to hit it hard and try and make more content than usual, because I had all these ideas. And I really want to see, can I make a run at this, in the sense of what happens if I actually make the content that I really want to make about everything that I think about all the time, and then whatever happens here as a result of just making it and getting it.
Got to do you sometimes. And
yeah, and that was my goal. And then work was how about no?
Yeah.
And since the very end of 2023 until about 2 months ago, it's the busiest I've ever been in my career. And now I see truly normalization for next year with my new role. And I made a decision not to pursue something else. So I'm okay, now I can really try this for next year. That's my intent. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be good.
Northeast bass fishing. I'm going down to JCS, John Scungio. He's going to be doing my boat. He's a pretty solid dude. Look him up. Mine, Champlain destroyed my boat. So I've got spider cracks on both sides of the gunnel, above and below on one side. And some are 30 plus inches long. So Champlain, that BFL.
Yeah.
And I called Phoenix, and Phoenix was like, no, it looks like an impact. I was like, what do you mean an impact? I didn't hit anything. They're like, well, it's probably a wave. And I was like, you consider a wave? So you didn't build your boat strong enough to handle Champlain? Right. They're like, well, yeah, apparently. So I was like, cool. So I got to use insurance to go through that, but definitely check out JCS. He's a cool dude. Yeah, good dude. Does a lot of really good work too. I got to bring my boat to him probably during the weekend of the New England Fishing Expo. If not then during the weekend of the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo. But ideally, I'm hoping the end of January. I got to schedule this. I got to get him to fix my my fender. Oh, yeah. From when I blew the hub and I did not strap up my trailer appropriately. Lesson learned. And then beyond that, one of the things that I talked to 5 different people extensively before I settled on the Nitro. And they all said, do the suspension upgrade kit for your trailer. And it makes a big difference in how quiet it is, how especially when you're turning it, the whole 9 yards. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I haven't gotten it done yet. Because when you do it, I guess you have to also space up your fiberglass fenders a half an inch to make it ride right. Yep. So, but you can't just block it. It has to be done appropriately. Yeah. So I'm going to have him do both of those things while I'm down there. And I gotta get in the schedule, because I would rather have it done in the middle of January, so I'm just good to go. But
I don't know. Whatever works. I'm bringing my boat down to JCS too. I've heard a lot of good things.
I've got a lot more snow back home than you guys have down here. So we got probably 8 inches still back home.
Holy hell.
Oh, yeah, we got a lot of snow.
Dude,
We
that's
still
kind of
got
the
a lot
benefit
of
of living
snow.
here in the valley.
Yeah. But that snow was really like, it's time to clean the boat out. I was like, that's the worst feeling. It's the worst feeling living in New England, cleaning everything out, taking all the gear out. You're like, I'm done. We got to put her away.
Yep.
So sad.
Well, that's okay. I got my boat out all winter, so you're welcome to join me anytime. All right. Who else jumped into the chat before we get going? Ant, Josh Herding. I already said hi to you. Bob Donahue. Hey, buddy. And Jamie Samatis. Hey, friend. Haven't seen you in a minute. Yeah, Mark. Well, you guys live. I mean, you live north of like the north-ish tip of Sunapee, and Mark lives out near Keene, and it's just enough friggin' elevation difference that it's nuts. Although for me here in Milford, being in the valley, and then I've got Mount Monadnock to the west, like that just annihilates anything coming in our path. Like it's rare that whatever they say we're going to get, we actually get. It's always less than half of what they anticipate. Hey, Panda. Okay, let's get to the heart of the topic. It's been 12 minutes. So learning. What do you learn more from? Tournaments or fun fishing? Exploring. It made more sense to put exploring than fun fishing in the title. Don't worry about it. The reason I want to talk about this is what I said at the beginning of the stream. It's one of those, I have learned so much from both. There is no wrong answer to this. And there's a difference between that and what I feel is there is a better answer of the two, depending upon specific situations. And they will flip-flop. So I guess you could argue that one is the wrong answer. No, there is a better of the two answers, but both are the correct answer. So at any point, if you have any questions, curiosities, whatever, throw it in the chat. We're going to get to it. I'll make sure it's there. So don't be bashful. Let's hear it. Otherwise, we're going to get into it. Starting from the beginning, like the very beginning of like when you realized, you know what, I need to learn more. Like I need to take whatever it is that I'm doing here to a higher level because I'm no longer content with what it is that I've done. And that next step, I think for the vast majority of us would have been just continuing to explore. I'm going to just go to the store and look for this, or I'm going to read about this and go try that. Or my buddy told me about this. I saw a video. I saw a tournament where they were doing that, whatever the case, something gives you inspiration to go and try something new. And generally, I think the majority of people would just continue to explore and fun fish with that new technique in hand in the anticipation of, I can just go do whatever the hell I want with this and try and make it work and learn.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, I think going to the tournament side of that is a lot of people, I know from myself personally, growing up watching the Elite Series guys, wanting to do tournaments and wanting to strive for in that sort of thing makes me, it's kind of a little bit both on this one, because watching the tournaments and seeing what those guys are doing then makes me want to go and try to figure out and teach myself how to do that technique, whether it's in a tournament or fun fishing. But typically it's in fun fishing and exploring, because that's when I master that technique and learn it. And I mean, punching for me, like, I spent probably 4 or 5 years punching before I told anybody about it. And then another probably 3 years before I told you and a bunch of other people about, this is a thing up here. Like, this is crazy. And I got to that by watching Aaron Martins. One of my like biggest inspirations for fishing, watching him growing up. And I was just like, these guys are throwing 2-ounce weights in like grass that's like 9 foot tall. That's nuts. There's no way. And then I found at a couple local ponds like grass like that, and I was like, there's no way. Ordered some stuff online, quickly realized it wasn't the right stuff, did a bunch of research. But so I think it can kind of go both ways with the tournament aspect of physically doing tournaments or watching tournaments.
And you know what? I was thinking physically this whole time until the moment you said that about just like watching and learning just from the aspect of learning from watching tournaments. And that's whole wrinkle. Didn't even cross my mind earlier.
Didn't until you said it either. And you're like watching videos, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah,
I watch this stuff online, and like with forward-facing sonar, and there's so many things that you actually can learn from watching not only YouTube videos like Sean's fishing videos or whatever, or the Elite Series guys, anything on YouTube, whatever, watching fishing videos. And then you're like, I want to try that. And then put that into go test it out. Like,
yep. So let me put it this way. When you got to a point where you're like, I really need to do this, what did you find when you were like truly in a learning and expanding on knowledge phase was best for you? And like we'll say the first 2 to 3 years, was it just exploring and taking everything that you wanted to try for the first time, fun fishing out with you? Or did you jump right into tournaments with the anticipation that I am going to learn more by forcing myself into a more constricted arena to be able to try and learn this and potentially learn from those that I'm competing against?
So that's a tricky one, actually, because I don't typically want or like to throw something in a tournament that I don't have 100% confidence in.
Throw the specific technique out of it then. I will rephrase, just learning in general.
Well, so that also gets tricky because the learning in general, if you're not learning, then you're not doing it right.
Yep.
Like if you don't go to a tournament and learn something, or if you're not on the water exploring, it doesn't make a difference on either fronts. If you're not learning something, then what's the point? I'm in the mind of every time I go out, I want to better myself and learn something new each time that I go out. It's not just to strictly catch fish.
Yep. And I think the important thing about what you said that was somewhat unsaid is there's always something to be learned from fishing in a tournament. And I had the very wrong perspective when I was younger and trying to learn more. Spent a couple of years primarily exploring fun fishing. That was, to me, was the best way to learn. But then I was like, I need something to push me even further. Well, let's constrict my options and timing and choices and tournaments. Okay, that will force me to learn even further. And I went into tournaments thinking like I will succeed and learn from that, or I will get my teeth kicked in and I will learn from the other anglers as a result of my teeth getting kicked in by them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was either that was definitely the wrong perspective to have from me personally going into it, where I only saw it one of two ways. I will learn from my own self from being successful, or I will learn by losing from other people that they're going to tell me what I did wrong. And that was not the case. And I think it was just because of a poor choice of clubs that I joined at first or tried to join. And then there was one club, Last Cast Fishing Club, who's still, to this day, they still have a really good presence. That was my first good experience tournament fishing wise, because those guys actually understood what it was I was trying to accomplish. And as I got older and matured, I started to better understand what it was that I had wanted to get out of these tournament experiences. So I was better communicating what it was I hoped for, without still not fully understanding, like, you got your teeth kicked in. Dumbass, what did you do wrong? Versus, I got my teeth kicked in, guys. You're all great. Tell me, what did I do wrong? That was learning in and of itself, where like learning how to learn.
Right.
What it came down to, and it was a combination of the things I had learned from fun fishing, like, oh, new technique. I'm going to go do that 5 times this week. And I can understand what I did wrong. And then going to a tournament, like, oh, I didn't learn anything new because I didn't ask any questions. I ask questions myself all the time on fun fishing. Why didn't you do that while I was there? The process of learning.
There's literally some days that I'll go out and I'll have techniques that I want to teach myself, and I will struggle all day long until I can figure out how to present that bait properly, or how to get the fish to react, or how to just to learn that technique. Like a big one, the most recent one was, I struggle at fishing deep.
Yep. Most
people that know me know that if I'm fishing more than 10 feet, something's wrong. Like, oh, he's out deep. Oof. So I've spent the last couple of years when I go out exploring or fun fishing, sometimes I'll just have those rods on the deck and that's all I'm throwing to focus on, because I know that when a tournament comes, that if I run into that, I need to have confidence in being able to compete and fish deep and pivot if I need to.
Right.
I will always start or try to fish shallow, depending on the lake, but like if it's a place that I need to go and fish deep, I don't feel comfortable currently. I'm getting there, but I'm still not as strong as I should be.
Yep. You need to force yourself into the back of my boat, make it real comfortable, real fast.
Yeah.
And it, you know what it was, the turning point for me, learning to get that. So like Travis Rocket and his dad, Jim Rocket, I've said this so many times, the foundation of my understanding of deep water fishing, I owe to those two. Because I grew up fishing kettle ponds. And they took me under their wing. And, like Travis was a young kid too when I first met him. He was only 16. But holy shit, dude, what he knew about deep water fishing was insane, because his dad was a very experienced, knowledgeable angler. And that's what Travis came up under. So like, even though I think Travis is 8 or 9 years younger than me. And again, when I first met him, he was 16. When I met him in person was at a tournament on Newfound Lake. And it was his first tournament. After he got his license, his first time driving with the boat alone, his dad like nervously texted me. He's like, "You just keep an eye on him for me." I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And I barely knew these two at the time, but like that was the foundation of our friendship. And from there, like I was like, guys, you got to teach me what I'm doing wrong about fishing deep at like 10 feet and less. I'm good, but after that, I don't know. And like, yeah, no problem. Come out fishing. Get in the back of the boat. We'll teach you. And like, it wasn't like okay, let's go from 10 to 15 feet, Sean, and then we'll go to 20. It was, we're going straight to 40. Good luck. No, it's too much.
The only time I've been able to figure out how to fish deep is late season. Like for me, if it's winter time here, oh, absolutely. I'll be in 30, 40, 50, 60 foot of water and I feel comfortable doing that. In the summertime, I don't want to do that. There's weeds and frogs and pads and big things that I know that I can go get giants out there, but I also know that I need to work on the summer deep end. Yeah. That's my biggest, that summer deep stuff. I'm like, yes, I know how to throw a drop shot and I'm good at it, but I also like to throw a drop shot in 12 foot of water on weed edges.
Yep. And
it's effective.
For me, the other half, what I meant to say a minute ago, that was probably by far the most satisfying thing, because this is not an accurate perspective, but for me, if I forced myself to have this perspective and outlook and opinion, then it made me more strongly desire the ability to be good out deep in the middle of summer. Was I shifted my perspective to think anybody can do that up shallow. Like, cool. It's great to do it. Anybody can do that. Like, I don't want to go out there and do it where nobody's doing it right now.
But they can't do it up shallow.
Right.
Especially nowadays with forward-facing sonar.
Right. But I forced myself to have that perspective. Like, I've caught them there all my life. Like, that's easy. I don't know what the hell I'm doing out there. Mm-hmm. Let's go out and do that. Like, because I don't see anybody else doing that right now. And there was plenty of people still doing it, but I was fishing in areas where that wasn't what you would do in those areas. And I'm like, I'm gonna go out there. And that was goddamn, was just shifting my perspective, even though it wasn't truthful, but forcing myself to believe that. The reward of going out there and finally figuring it out deep in that 30 plus feet was like, holy shit, okay, this is great. I can get behind this. And then, like it's easy enough, or it's easier to start with the finesse tactics. And then you move into the bigger stuff. You're doing like a 1/2 ounce to a 3/4 ounce shaky head. You're doing a big old Carolina rig out deep. You're fishing a 1/2 ounce Texas rig with an 8-inch ribbon tail worm. Mm-hmm. And, you're dragging in grass that tapers off 25 feet and the rocks in 30, and you're still getting thumped by
that deep thump on a big worm or a Carolina rig is so freaking fun. I learned how to do that and I've been teaching myself. Jody had a good one up there.
How far back? Jesus.
That one.
This one. Some of my best tournaments have come with new stuff. That one?
Yeah. So I absolutely agree with that, but I also feel like it's a combination of new stuff, but like I know that I can throw a spinnerbait here.
Yeah.
But if I modify my spinnerbait, like for example, this year I stepped away from all my club tournaments and I focused on BFLs strictly. And I learned so much this year from just traveling different parts of the country and learning how to fish different parts of the country, which the tournaments and exploring new waters. So it's kind of, it intermeshes really well.
Yep.
And there was techniques that I've done over and over and over again, but I just needed to tweak them to the most minuscule amount. Like on a spinnerbait, when I was on Kerr Lake was flooded. And so we were fishing brush piles and brush on the shore that was all flooded. And the only way we could get them to bite was with a spinnerbait, a white spinnerbait, but the blades both had to be tiny.
Really?
So I was making custom spinnerbaits, cutting the first notch off the spinnerbait to make it a more compact spinnerbait.
Yep.
And then the other technique was we were flipping those bushes, but we were flipping them with a sweet beaver. And it was the sweet beaver only that we were getting bit on because the sweet beaver would fall this way as opposed to every other bait that would fall straight down.
Yep.
They wanted that slow
like
curve.
Sachet to it on the way down.
So like they're all techniques that I'm very, very comfortable with, but I'm also at the same time learning to adapt on the fly to what the fish are telling me.
Yeah.
Which if you're not doing that in a tournament, you probably shouldn't be doing tournaments, because tournaments is like, you gotta think like, boom, I just missed a fish. Why did I miss that fish? Let's change this up.
Yep.
And then you get 2 fish on that third fish, that's a pattern.
Yes.
I always say, if one more fish on that, pattern it. Let's go.
So Andrew and I adopted, actually, no, I got to take it back before that. My buddy Josh Rafter and he was my fishing buddy before Andrew came along. There was a short window where the 3 of us were always fishing together. Then Josh got burnt down on it. And seems to be a common theme with people I fish with. Andrew took his place, and Andrew and I fished together forever until he moved. But Josh and I knew each other from our skate park days. And literally anytime we wanted to learn a new trick, and this goes even back to before him, but we adopted too. This is like, dude, now I'm going back 23, 24 years ago. Once is luck, twice is skill, once is luck, twice is coincidence, 3 times the skill.
Yep.
So I adopted that for fishing. Once is luck, twice is coincidence, 3 times the pattern.
Yep.
And
100%.
Same exact thing. Like at a certain point, and having that perspective, that mantra, like it is absolutely helped, because it makes me, keeping that in mind, it makes me really pay a lot more attention to everything that I'm doing. So I do catch fish, it's like, yep, file that in the memory bank. Yep. I know exactly what I did, right, within 90%. And okay, let's try and repeat that. And you do that for half an hour. It's not working. Or it is working. That's great. I mean, maybe it's not working, go try another spot. That's definitely not fucking working. Right. On, let's try something different. So I don't know. This is what I loved about this topic, because we can kind of ramble and like it makes sense, because we're covering decades of learning experiences to kind of what helped pave the way for what we felt was the best way for us to learn in a number of different situations.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's add a little more structure to it and kind of do like a beginner, intermediate, advanced thing. But before we do that, there was a bunch of comments. I got 11 starts. I want to go through some of them before we get too much further ahead. Northeast bass fishing. When I was young, I joined a bass club to learn more about bass fishing. After fishing tournaments in New Jersey for 25 to 30 years, I've now retired from that. I much more enjoy fun fishing and exploring. Yeah, and I know a lot of guys that I've met over the years were like, that's how they got started. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them say the same thing. Like at a certain point, it's like, dude, I just want to, like, they're tired of dedicating their whole season to, the local club where they've got 12 tournaments. So that's at least 12 weekends of an already relatively short season up here that I got to go fish here. And if it's a place that they're not really familiar or comfortable with for whatever reason, it's probably more like 15 to 16 weekends. That's 4 months.
You got to take that time and learn that body of water. But on the same end of that is, I like to be able to learn those new places. And I don't want, like, why I stepped away from the club stuff was because we kept fishing the same bodies of water over and over and over again.
New Hampshire's no different right now.
And he's like, we need to switch something up. Like, I love doing tournaments, but I'm just sick of fishing the same water over and over. Every year it was the same trail. Like,
Yep.
Cool. Like, I know how to catch fish here. We're good. Try something else.
there's a do I say this?
It's not like a cocky thing that I learned how to catch fish here, because there would be days that I would get my teeth kicked in, for sure. But it was just the monotony of the same thing over and over. And yeah, you can still learn from it, but I don't think it's as much as if you step outside your comfort zone.
There's the law of diminishing returns. You fish the same 500 acre pond, you will always learn something, but the first 10 times there's exponential learning. And then the next 10 times is a fraction of that. And then the next 10 times is even fraction of that fraction, and I don't know, to put it in a nerdy perspective or comparison, it's kind of like the evolution of video games, right? That technology from every iteration to the next console was like, oh my God.
Right.
And then, like the last two was like, I guess it's kind of an upgrade, but like learning curve is not that much different at a certain point. That's how it goes. Hang on. Going off topic, Sean, did you ever ride Manchester skate park? You bet your ass I did. I have been actually trying. You can't see it in the background, that Dell computer over there on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
That's my old family's computer that I've had. Christ. That's got to be like 20 years old. No, longer.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, just about 20 years old. On that hard drive is a bunch of videos that my friends and I made in high school from BMX riding, and a bunch of pictures that we took. And one of them, I've got a picture, Manchester Park. If you went from the spine around the bowl and then like hard 90 and jumped out like up and over, it's not really a volcano, but you jumped out of the bowl going like into like the big open area. Like, dude, it's a 5-foot concrete bowl, and there's about a 5-foot flat gap on top. And on the outside of the bowl, there was this beautiful hip, but it was weird because it wasn't quarter pipe hip. It was like smooth transition, like a quarter pipe to a steep bank.
Oh,
so dude, you could boot that hip.
Oh,
but then
nice.
coming out of the bowl into that side of the hip, it was a little steeper than the side. Like for me, I always went from left to right because I spin clockwise, and I used to love blasting that hip. And I got some good pictures of that, doing like really, really like picture perfect flat tabletops and some inverted tabletops. But coming up out of the bowl, you jump the spine, come up around the corner of the bowl, manual around into the bowl and out the far side. And there was that 5-foot flat into the 5-foot like steeper bank. And I've got a picture where I am dipped down like this in the meanest toboggan I've ever done in my life. And I'm good 6 feet up. Like the lowest point of my front tire is 6 feet up over everything. And I'm tucked, my ass is way over my back tire, seat grab, bars turn perfect 90, and just dipped. And I would kill to find that picture again. I have that one, and I got another one where I was just doing a stupid fly out 180 bar spin over one of those plastic jersey barriers. That was good.
Man, nice.
Holy shit, you know Phil and Bega? Okay, this is a really small world. I know those guys very well. No shit. Oh, that's awesome. All right. I got another picture of doing a fly out 180 bar spin my buddy took. And it was, again, out of fly out, but it's 6-foot quarter going back to the main building. And the plastic jersey barriers are like 3.5 feet tall. I forget. Yep. But he's got me perfectly parallel with the length of that plastic jersey barrier. Bars perfectly half around, knees pinched perfectly around the seat, and like my hands just like getting ready to grab the bars. But I'm like 4 feet over the plastic jersey.
Oh,
two of my favorite pictures. They're on that, but there's something wrong with the hard drive. I can't get it powered up. So I keep forgetting to pull it out and ship it to somebody that can get all that freaking crap off there. Talk about going off on a side topic. This is way over my head. Dude, that's wild. Talk about it. Small world. Okay, anyway, back on to fishing. That's awesome. Speaking of Andrew, I learned from other anglers and watching videos like yours, but time in the water is the best teacher. So
for sure, whether it's on the boat, whether it's like I said at the beginning, I've got the Phoenix. I will go and fish the bank all the time. all the time.
Yeah. I keep going. I got to ask him a quick question.
It just makes things a little bit easier for me. I don't have to, I can go get out of work, especially in the summertime, get out of work 3, 4, 5 o'clock, spend 3 or 4 hours with 2 rods in your hand, and you go and figure it out.
Yep.
Just beat the bank and figure it out.
So come back to kind of my previous statement where I was like, let's try and add some structure to this as far as like answering the topic directly, starting from a beginner's perspective. And what do you think the best way is what's the best method for learning? And I will go first on this because I have a feeling he's going to respond in the chat and I want to get back to him. When I completely agree with what you said. I completely agree with what Andrew said. I want to keep that up there because that was, for me, first, oh man, when I got away from like Texas rig off the bank, I'm like, watched a couple of guys throwing Sankos in the middle of the pond and just whacking them.
Mhm.
And me and my dad catching nothing. I'm like, can we go do something different? And he was like, no, this is what we always do and it works. And that was like that light switch flip. And I'm like, I'm done. I got to do something different.
Right.
And that was where I like took off. And as a beginner, exploring with research was the best way for me to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I know that's just the way my brain works anyway. I'm an engineer and I love being an engineer and I excel at being an engineer and everything is very mechanical and methodical and structured. And when I have that kind of structure in my life where it is very sequential, that's when I excel and can learn the fastest. That works for me. And it took me a little while to figure that out. But once I employed that same approach to my fishing, then I was able to really, that's where my most explosive learning happened. I also had a lot more time on my hands before my kids were born. So I was able to go and I would go on Bass Resource. Yeah, bassresource.com. And I would have seen a video, some sort of tournament, and I would just I would barely be paying attention to what they were doing, and all of a sudden I would hear this say like shaky head, and that would stick.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I want to learn shaky head. Bass Resource. There's 5 articles on shaky head. Cool. I'm gonna read all those today.
Every single one. Read every single one.
Yep. Text my buddy Josh. Hey, we're going fishing today. We're gonna go shaky head fishing. What the hell's a shaky head? Don't worry, I got a bunch. Let's go. And that's when I could fish like 3 to 5 days a week, and all but one of those days was after work. It was during the summer, peak sunlight hours. So you still go out, and I was out of work at 3:30 the latest, at the lake by 4. Didn't have GoPros then, so like setup was a lot easier. And I had like 3 rods, everything was already on the deck, like dump it, go. And I get 3 to 4 hours of fishing in 3 to 5 times a week at minimum. And like that was all I would do that week. Shaky head. Like, I'm gonna freaking master this.
That's why I still fish the bank so much, is because the amount of time that it takes me to get out of work and hook the boat up or bring the boat to work, unhook the boat. If you can find something locally to you that you can just put a couple rods in the truck and then just go fish, you're saving yourself a lot of time. And that's why I still spend so much time on shores, because I do have the boat. Can I go fish there? Yeah, I probably can, but I'll get more time on the water learning more if I just go fish the bank. Yep. And people walk into me like, don't you have this really nice boat? Shouldn't you be on that? I was like, I do, but that's not what it's all about.
Right. And you know what? To his point, it's all about time in the water. To your point, it's all about time in the water.
Time on the water.
And I don't have any bank fishing spots anywhere remotely close to me. There's a railroad pond in town, but it sucks. When I was a kid, it was a lot better, mainly because my dad and my uncle would throw fish in there. But ever since that flood, the late 90s has not been the same. Anyway, like if I had that, like, dude, I'd be doing that all the time. If I knew I could at least catch something, regardless of size, like, dude, time in the water is time in the water.
Right.
And if I can go and bank fish for 2 hours versus if I were to go hook on my boat, the nearest spot I could bring it to, all said and done, that 2 hours now becomes less than an hour of actual fishing time. Like, I'd rather go spend 2 hours beating the bank because that's going to maximize the time that I have. Oof. Too many good questions. So from a beginner perspective, I think we're in agreement. exploring, fun fishing, just putting on as much time in the water wherever you can is where you're going to biggest learning curves are going to come from.
Also put in watching videos and using the internet as resources, because there's so many good resources between Real Northern Bass Talk, Tactical Bass, and there's just so many good resources. Well, I started watching Tactical Bassin for things to figure out new techniques.
Yep.
But the problem that I found living in New England is they don't specifically target New England too often. So it's hard. And that's when we hooked up and I was like, this could be sick if we like just show people what we're doing and help people learn. Like,
that's all
it's New England.
That's all.
It's totally different. It's a wild animal compared to the rest of the country.
Yes, it is. And the biggest factor for that is there is nearly zero consistency up here.
Yeah.
We are in a constant state of change weather-wise and water temperature-wise. The only constants in water temperature we have is dead of summer and fucking dead of winter. It's either frozen or it's boiling. Those are the only two constants we have.
And still, this last couple of years, it's not been that way either, because the last couple of years, it hasn't been frozen.
No, yeah, you're right. Now it's a
and
whole
then
other
summer. It was just like, oh, it should be a lot warmer than this. What's going on right now?
Yeah.
And then fall this year, you're like, water is still 65 degrees in October. I don't know what the heck's going on right now. This is confusing the heck out of me.
You were telling me, because this fall really kicked my teeth, and I'm like, yeah, middle October, we're going deep. Where are all the fish? Sean, you idiot! It's still 65 out here. Get on the bank. But the calendar says I should be doing this.
That's where I was talking to Kara about this topic too. Is one thing that you can kind of piggyback off of this is to help you learn is, don't, like you said, last year they were here. No, don't think that way.
Yeah,
the most important part that you can do in your learning process is always learn to fish the conditions.
Yes, 100%. That's actually funny you bring that up. I have that as another topic. Hold.
Nice. Good idea.
Hold. It's gonna take me all of 2 seconds to find it. Okay, 5 seconds. Where's the folder? There it is. All the way down here. See, look at this. Topic ideas. Where fish the pattern, not the fish. Literally the title of a stream I like to do.
It's brilliant.
I would really like to do that one sooner than later.
It's probably the most important thing of all time, because I feel like, not to go too far into that realm, but a lot of people will say, oh, I caught them here last year.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, this year and last year are wildly different, especially in New England.
Yeah.
Especially in New England.
Especially the last 6 years. In New England. Holy hell, it's been wild. Trying to think. All right, let me go back through another couple of comments here. And then, so we covered kind of the beginner side, and that's like both mostly in agreement here for the most part, saying it different ways. Explore, have fun, enjoy yourself. Don't limit yourself beyond, I want to learn this. And just go out there and freaking hammer it, man. Like, spend as much time as you can doing that, and you're going to learn 1,000 different things in 1,000 different ways. And that's for learning the basics of anything new that you want to throw. Then it comes to that next step. We'll get to that in a minute. But so Northeast bass fishing. I wanted to get better flipping and pitching with a lefty bait caster. I bought 2, fished the tournament all day with them. Won the tournament, never stopped using lefty since. See,
lefty is the correct way to fish.
I will offer a different school of thought on this. I will say, functionally, you are correct.
Yes.
From a overall life and abuse on your body perspective, that is exactly why I use a right-handed reel. Because when I cast, the majority of my action is my left elbow. My left elbow goes all the way up and closed to open. I am right-hand dominant. So I kind of do this, but this arm, my right arm, my dominant arm, doesn't quite completely close and doesn't quite completely open, because I go like this. So they both kind of do, but I'm like, really the bulk, the majority of my oomph is coming from my left arm. My left arm is one that's truly snapping open. And that's that tennis swing, tennis elbow. I am right-hand dominant. Everything else that I do in my life, swinging a hammer, right? Tennis elbow. I have heard, especially at the point where I wanted to start losing bait casters, reading about it, and the topic of tennis elbow always came up. And I thought to myself, well, shit, yes, the left-hand reel makes more sense because the way I cast, but then I'm putting more of that snap action in my right arm that I already use for everything else. So I will force myself to use a right-hand reel. So I'm spreading the weight of life between the two elbows.
Even when I had my right hand reel, you still cast with your dominant hand, because most people are casting and then switching. That's my biggest.
It's the violence of like this arm gives up halfway,
Right.
and then this left arm carries the bulk of it and is really
Right.
snapping the rod. It's that action. At least that's how I rationalized it. I don't know if it makes sense. In my head, it does. I tell you what, my elbows don't bother me, so I try not to overthink it. But I agree with you. Going back to your first point, reeling left-handed as a right-hand dominant person is definitely the smarter way.
For me, I always picked up on that, and I try to convince others to switch to lefties, is because one, when you've got that rod in your hand and you're reeling left hand, that dominant hand is now your most sensitive hand.
Yep.
So your reaction time is going to be a lot quicker as well.
Yes. Good point.
And when I set the hook, I don't have to worry about anything other than putting it to where I'm reeling.
Yep.
If I don't have a hand on this reel, when I'm setting the hook, it's going to where I need to reel.
Yep, you're right.
And a lot of guys are casting, and then now they're switching to put it over here. And when punching and flipping, I've gotten bits in that minuscule time that it takes to switch.
Yeah.
And fumbled fish, frog, I started right-handed. I did, and then I switched over and never going back.
Thinking about that, Mark said, and I really should get used to fishing a left-hand reel, literally only for jerkbaits. Do you know how many fish I lose every spring when we're fishing out in the stiff wind and like the way the fish are positioned and trying to cast around whoever's with me? Like I have to go right-handed, and I'm used to setting the hook with my left hand. Like I get them straight up anywhere from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Going from 12 to 9, then we require primarily my right arm to really get some oomph behind it.
Yep.
It's a jerkbait. You don't really need oomph, but you need like a nice, like
that
consistent sweep, but you gotta like pull into it, right? Like you gotta put still some oomph about it, not a violent oomph, but you gotta be able to follow through. And I cannot do that with my right arm. I cannot go from center to left, and literally like it's got to be at least 3/4 of the fish that I hook into, I lose if I have to swing to my left.
Oh man,
it's so annoying. And I must have it probably 20 videos now, but Andrew can attest to it. Like we'll be out there in January, February, March, and just because the way the wind is always fucking blowing at that time of year, I go like this. I'm like, I think I got it, and it comes off like goddamn left hand hook set every time. I don't even know where we are. All right, we got Mark's. Panda. I learned by watching tactical bassing at first, then put time in the water just trying one new technique for a while. Yeah, I mean, I did watch tactical for a little bit. And then, as funny as this sounds, even though I make a bunch of videos, like I got tired of watching videos. I learned better from reading, not watching. I learned better either from reading or watching somebody in person, but not a video.
See, I'm the complete opposite. My learning style is completely visual.
Yep. I think it's because I've just always been a bookworm. So I got a new series that I'm really digging. Bloodsworn Saga? Yeah. I am 180 pages into book 3, and I just started the series.
180 pages would have taken me about 180 days because by page 1, I'm just like, like I'm out.
I started this 3 weeks ago. Yeah, about 3 weeks ago. Oh, I do. If I find a book I like, I don't put it down.
I'm jealous.
I rip through it.
I would like to be able to read better, but it just puts me right to sleep.
And there's nothing wrong with that, man. Some people, that's just what it does. And you know what? I envy that in many a way because, like,
you'll be up all night just like, yeah.
And I'm like, Christ, it's 2 o'clock. I need to be up for work. Like, everybody else is like, I'm going to go to sleep early tonight. I'm going to read 3 pages. And they're out. And I'm like, if I pick up that book, I'm going to stay up for 3 hours longer than I mean to. but put a video on something that like I enjoy just enough, but I'm not like deeply interested in, and I'm out like a light in 20 minutes. Brains, we're dumb.
Yep.
Okay. Kevin, you have to crawl before you can run. I sucked at a jig. Then when we get a Champlain, I brought 2 rods, both with jigs. Yeah, man. And that's, I mean, screw tournament fishing. I mean, well, in this case, this applies to both. It either applies to both or it does not apply to either one. Just forcing your hand in that sense absolutely can help.
It could absolutely hurt you more in a tournament.
Yeah.
But it's a jig. At that point, like, jigs catch fish.
Ice out to ice in, from the bank to 60 feet.
It's just literally the best bait you could ever have.
It really is. Funny, I did an interview yesterday with On the Water Bass, and that was one of the things we talked about, because they do a thing where they feature somebody from every state in the Northeast, and I got to be the New Hampshire guy. Awesome. And he was like, "What do you want to talk about?" I was like, "Well, I don't want to like replicate what Tim did and a couple of the other guys did, because I did like, Tim did Winnipesaukee and Alex Weatherall did Candlewood, like deep kind of body." I was like, let's go to the kettle pond route. It's like, that's what New Hampshire's really known for. If not necessarily known for, it's like, that's what I know. But it was like, that's what I cut my teeth on. I could talk about that all day. So that's what we talked about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we, of course, he's like, "Well, what do you throw primarily?" I'm like, Arky jig.
Jig.
Ice out to ice in, and some of those kettle ponds can even get a little bit deep. Doesn't matter, dude. From the friggin' bank to bank, shore to shore, middle of the lake, from the deepest point right up onto the.
You just got to make sure you've got at least a dozen of them.
Yep. Yeah.
Rocks.
Yeah. Or as long as you have defined heavy cover, everything's fine.
That's fair.
To an extent. All right, Alec. I definitely learned more fun fishing because I tend to try more out of the box or new things more easily. Tournaments, I try to stick to confident stuff, which probably hurts me more than helps. I think this is a good point to take this conversation to that next step.
Yeah.
We did the beginner stuff. Now let's talk about that intermediate stuff, which I think, Alec, you're definitely more than intermediate. But I think that outlook can start at that intermediate level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, once I reached that point, it was a 50-50 mix where I started to find that I was learning just as much from tournament fishing, even when I sucked and didn't do well at all, as much as I was fun fishing. Because now you are introducing constraints into what you're doing when it comes to the tournament side. And your fun fishing, you can add your own constraints, and now you're starting to understand much more subtle nuances of the new things you're learning, because you've already gone out and learned a half dozen to a dozen different new things, and you remember the process of how you learned it in that sense. Like, you eliminated all these weird things about it until it fit into the mold of you and how that functions within your preferred style and your confidence, and it works, and now it is a confident, consistent part of your arsenal, your repertoire.
Yep.
And now going into that tournament side is now I know enough to be dangerous in a number of different ways, from shallow to at least moderately deep, or deep to moderately deep, either way, or maybe all three. And I feel confident I can do any one of these things, but I have my preferences. I know what I really like to do.
Oh, absolutely.
So now you go to the tournament side. Now you have constraints. I don't get to pick where I'm going. I don't get to pick the time of the year that I'm going there, and I don't get to pick the weather conditions when I'm going to be there. And I don't get to pick what spot I'm going to fish more often than not. So now you have introduced so many different variables, constraints to what you're doing, that you are forced to make a decision based on what is available to you. And that is an entirely different learning perspective.
And I enjoy that a lot, is looking at the weather going into a tournament and being like, all right, Google mapping and looking at your maps and seeing, getting waypoints and pre-fishing and being like, let's try this, and this, and see if that works. And if that doesn't work, let's try this, and this. And if that doesn't work, screw it. Let's go try whatever. And sometimes that whatever is that ticket. And that's that bringing the tournaments into the fun fishing aspect of it is sometimes the tournament anglers overthink things too much.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot. Well, I was like yelling at you this year. It's like, turn that off. Turn your screens off and just fish.
Yep.
And you're like, I should have just fished. Yeah.
Even when I just fished, I'm still getting my teeth kicked in this year. I know exactly why. In hindsight, it was a number of different things. How far down to this path do I go? I can keep it very high level. Work was the issue, and despite the fact that I was enjoying the stress of it, it was still the busiest
It's
I've ever
always
been in my life.
it's always back there, just always.
Yep. And 110% the stress of knowing that Andrew's gonna be gone at the end of the year, like, completely fucked with my head. Big time. You know, it was like, it's not just losing a friend, like, that was my fishing buddy. He was there every goddamn weekend. No matter where we went, it was the two of us. 99% of the time. There was consistency in that.
He was a rallier because he was sick as a dog one day.
Twice.
Twice.
Wait, was it twice? No, there was definitely the one time.
That one day during the tournament, and he was sleeping on the back of the deck, and we were near them, but we were respectful distance away during the tournament. To the point that we kind of saw Andrew laying down and we saw Sean standing up, and I hear Sean load up into a fish, but we're not far enough away. So after we get back and we go over what the tournament was, Andrew's like, I was out cold, and I heard that drag, and I was just like, boom, and I was up.
I didn't even get a chance to say net, and he was so miserable. I was like, dude, I know we're in a tournament, but I really don't care. Like, you look like death.
I felt so bad. I was like, dude, can I make you food? Like, I'm trying to help you, like, revive you. And it was just, he had a bad flu or something that was just, it knocked him out. But he was like, I'm going to be on that boat. I don't care.
Yep. And I was like, dude, I know we're in a tournament. Don't really care. Like, if you got to sleep for an hour, then go for it. And like, I'd rather you just lose you for an hour and just stay here in this one spot, and the chance that you might feel better. And regardless of whether that helps us in the tournament or not, I don't care. I just want you to feel better because you look like shit. And he was like, all right, fair enough. And he was like, just wake me up, like, yell if you need the net. I'm like, all right, I'll make sure I do that. Like, fair enough. And dude, I got trucked by like an 8-inch largemouth. And it hit so hard that it felt like it was at least a keeper. Like, I to this day, I'm still just dumbfounded how hard this little fish hit my spinner. And all I did was load up on the hook set. I didn't say a word, and he jumped to his feet. He was like, where's the net? One of the funniest things. But to elaborate on how sick Andrew was, like, the night before, we were driving up the day before, the morning of, like 2 hours into our 3.5-hour drive, and he's like, by the way, I don't really feel good. I'm like, don't do this. He's like, I'm pretty sure I'm coming down with something. I'm like, all right, well, you want to stop at the store and get something? He's like, yeah, let's do that. And then we'll go fun fish for a little bit. Down you go. And
there we go.
Like, within 2 hours, he just looked like half death. And we drove up and we're all hanging out by the fire. He drank a couple of shots of rum, burned everything out, and he started to feel a little bit better. And that was when John Emery was with us.
Oh, yeah.
Wicked Custom Rods. And we all wake up early in the morning next day. Andrew decided to sleep on the couch to stay away from everybody just in case. And John, being cheeky like the rest of us all the time, he comes down. He's like, "Oh, how you feeling, Pumpkin? You okay?" Puts his hand on his head, like smiling, smirking like a shithead. He puts his hand on his head. He's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, are you okay?" Like, from like joking to very concerned.
Yeah. He was always a rallier for sure.
Oh, my tangents! I'm so sorry, people. Hope it's entertaining, regardless. So I mean that explains why I had a really rough year. That should have taken 10 seconds, but here we are 10 minutes later. Yep. Mark, I read every book on bass fishing you can find in the 90s, watching every show on TV that was on, and bought a 14-foot aluminum boat and fished every chance I got. Dude, like, that's awesome. You don't need 21-foot glitter rocket.
That's how I started.
Fish. I fished out of a 14-foot flat bottom boat until I was 22.
I was fishing tournaments out of a 16-foot aluminum V-hull that I built myself. And I had a 120-quart beer cooler that I converted and made into a live well. And I had a tiller handle on the back.
Yep.
and we had a live well, and we had a motor, and we had life jackets, and we were doing tournaments on Champlain in this 16-footer, and we were winning consistently. Me and my homie Alex.
You guys did phenomenal out of that little boat.
Oh, we crushed it out of that boat.
You know, there's many a day where I wish I still had that aluminum boat, because there's a few places I could take it that I cannot get my boat into.
Yep.
Period. It just is not allowed in there because of gas restrictions. And then
that's why you take a trash bag, put that trash bag over your motor, duct tape it.
Not in New Hampshire. So there's two different kinds.
I called Fish and Game, and they said in reservoirs you can do that as long as you just use strictly the trolling motor.
Correct. But there's two different restrictions on gas. Yeah. So pay attention for New Hampshire anglers. This is actually a very good little digress, but learning lesson. Two different rules. There is you are not allowed to operate a petroleum powered motor. That's rule 1. Then there is you're not allowed to operate a vessel equipped with a petroleum powered motor.
Equipped part.
And that's the real seat in the pants kicker. There are quite a few ponds I fish where rule 1 applies. You are not allowed to operate a petroleum powered motor. Not a big deal, right? Just go buy the troll motor and nobody can say anything. I've had a few people say some things, but I explained to them, and every single time it has been fine. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know. That's great. I'm glad you can still do this. This is awesome." Okay. And then there are other places where you straight up, even if it's got gas equipped to it, you cannot be in there, and that will be a problem. And I did clarify that with Marine Patrol, and they did say they would prefer, if you're in a body of water that says you're not allowed to operate a petroleum powered motor, I still had the email saved. They would prefer that you either remove the prop from the outboard or place a trash bag over it, but it is not required. They said it just makes things easier for them and anybody else watching that could be concerned that you have eliminated the potential for anybody to be like, "Oh, you are breaking the law." And
I just do it to be safe if I go into those places, because I've been in before and they're like, "You're not allowed to have that big boat in here." And I'm like, well, I can.
Right.
And I'm not using the big motor. And then I just started trash bagging it, and then now nobody can argue about anything. It's just a little safer.
Yep. No, I don't blame you. I haven't had to do that. Like I said, there's 3 instances that I can definitively remember where someone was like, "Oh, buddy," they were wicked nice. "Just so you know, you can't be in here with that." And I'm like, "Oh, no, it's fine." Like, and explain to them, like, "Oh, that's awesome. Okay,
Right,
great day." And they walk away. And I'm like, "That was great. That was the kind of interaction you hope for." I haven't had anybody be like a real stickler about it.
That's
but
good.
I just know, like, okay, well, tell you what, you can call Fish and Game down and we can talk. In general, if you hear me fire my outboard up, then by all means call the cops and Fish and Game, and they'll write me a ticket. But until I do that, mind your own business.
That goes back into the exploring part, is because there are some pretty cool bodies of water that probably shouldn't be able to get our boats in, but we put them in anyways because we're going to do it. And those bodies of water have never seen, or you haven't been able to get graphs on or cool things like that to be like, "Ooh, that's over there." Like, ooh.
That's where that middle of the pond, deeper water stuff really comes into play.
Yeah, like, "Ooh, I didn't know about that."
You know, almost every single body of water, the shoreline's been beat to shit.
Oh yeah.
But you get in a little tiny pond that has like the worst kind of access that, like hardly anybody with real electronics is bet on. And all you do is like 2 passes of side imaging, and you're like, "I'm about to fuck this place up."
Yeah. Or that, like, you've got this much bank over here that you can fish, but like now you're able to access this part way over there that you can't get to. You're like, "Snipe."
All right, we got 3 more comments and back to the topic at hand. I mean, this all plays into it, but Panda, I set out to catch a DD, just throwing a big soft swim bait for 6 months straight every week, dragging a big softie, but I ended up with my 12-pounder that way.
Nice.
See? That's awesome. Panda and Oliver you two are actually relatively close to each other out that general area. Actually, Panda's more closer to San Diego, which I don't think is too far from Oliver. My geography's failing me for a minute here, but they're both SoCal. Close enough, right?
Yeah.
Oliver, take him out. Mark, again, I would say I focused more this past summer on drop shotting and throwing a net out deeper. It's hard for me to not just flip and pitch, but the deeper bite was way better anyway, so that helped. Which is funny he brings that up, because that's how it was for me the last 3 years. But this year,
I found the complete opposite.
Same. But even when I found the cleat, oh wait, no, it was 50-50. Usually it's like just pure deep I can make work. And I can make that work all summer. If I want to go shallow, I can still usually make it work. This year it was 50-50, where like some days, yeah, out deep, I made it work. And then other days, like, okay, I can see you there, but they're not doing anything. I'm gonna go back to the bank. Oh, all right. Well, there's a bunch of 2-pounders. I salvaged the day, but never had a really great day up shallow. It's weird. Weird season for me. I'm talking about my shortcomings. Suck. Oh, I love fishing new baits because every bait is an opportunity for that light bulb to go off.
Yes, 100%.
That's actually very well said.
Yeah.
It makes you think a little bit differently. And it doesn't even have to be that different.
And
from whatever you'd be throwing that's something you know, is a known to you that you've experience with.
I think one thing too that I've gained a lot from Oliver is you have a bait, but now figure out a way to present that bait, hook it differently, add something to it, create something different. That same bait, that same profile, like with that spinnerbait deal that I was saying about earlier, like that's what helps Oliver, like really seeing him be like, yeah, everybody throws it the same way. Well, why not just cut this off or add this or do something? Just that bit of difference will, like, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It will blow your mind.
Yep.
Like, don't be afraid to try something that is completely out of the box, like throwing a Senko on the back of a spinnerbait. Who thought that would have worked? Apparently it worked really well. That was that, like,
that is weird.
There's just weird things, like just try it and see what happens.
I can attest to that. No, I was having really good luck with the jackhammer this year, and then the bite softened a little bit. My conditions are still good for this. This should still work. What changed? Go through a bunch of different things, but you know, it's essentially just trying slight variations of everything I've always used. So it really wasn't changing anything. It was just a slightly different color combination or a slightly different size combination for that time of the year than what normally worked. And then I was like, you know what? All right, let's change this up. What's different I could put on the back of it? You know, now I started playing around with the rod actually a lot more, and I owe that to David Roy from really hammering home that point. Actually, before that was Jimmy Reese at iCast 2023. Meeting him at the Douglas booth and talking about jackhammers and why you want a softer rod than I was throwing. That stuck with me. Hadn't found a situation where it mattered. And then this year on Champlain in May, David Roy beat the piss out of me fishing a softer rod. And that was literally it. I had the exact same jackhammer, exact same trailer, but he had a slightly softer rod and he was out fishing me 10-1.
I think I was throwing like the 7.24 maybe this year. And I was like, this is way too light for me. But I was just like, it's working so well.
Yep. And that's what Jimmy fishes. So I do the rod switch and that worked great. Like, but then again, it's soft. I'm like, okay, well, what's next? Right. I've changed different things I normally wouldn't think of, and that worked, but now it's softened. Is it just a bite or is it something we're doing wrong? Threw a 5-inch fluke on the back of my jackhammer. Holy shit. It's not that far of a stretch from what I would normally consider to be a somewhat normal thing. Like, I do the flip and delight on there sideways, and a lot of people think I'm crazy for it, but my God, does it work?
Well, that's one thing I showed Kara this year too, is like, I noticed that she was always rigging her craw trailers
flat versus sideways.
Typically, like that's what a lot of people do. And I was like, try something different. Just turn that bait this way and rig it this way. Something that simple. Immediately.
Yeah.
She got bit like back to back. And she's like, that was dumb. Like, I don't know why that makes no sense. But then at the end of the day, it makes so much sense because the profile works so much bigger, kicker, just like, holy cow.
Yep.
Just something that small little detail will change. Like, you may think it's dumb. Just do it.
Yep. And that's what made me think about throwing a 5-inch fluke on the back of it. Because I was like, okay, well, now I got this different rod configuration going. Like, I know my jackhammer is really hunting. And so I've got that benefit working for me, but there's something a little bit different. All of this I learned through fun fishing, not tournament fishing. So this is like, there's instances like this where you don't have time to screw around like this too much in a tournament, right? You make some small changes, but not your whole rod and your whole reel and your whole line choice. And then, like,
for sure,
all these other different things. Like, that's too many different variables when you're trying to really lock in one thing. Unless you're convinced like this is it, they're gonna eat a jackhammer, then say this for fun fishing days. Like, what else could I do? Like, now I know I've got it hunting, and I don't want to hinder its ability to truly hunt. That thing is going hard left and then not deflecting, but reaches a point of tension on the line where it's going to hunt back hard right. But it's all over the place. Well, I need something louder off the back. I need more action, but I don't want to hinder that hunt. So I need something more streamlined, but it's going to have that action. Fluke. That should make sense. That should work. Well, let's try it. And like, that worked. The thing was hunting like a motherfucker, and it was like the friggin' tail in that thing, and it's big, it's long, it's a lot longer than I would like for my presentation to be on that. Typically, I like to be a little bit more compact, but holy hell, did that thing work this year? That was phenomenal. These Yamamotos don't hold up for crap, though.
Nope, they sure don't. That's the unfortunate thing. Dude, but they got good action.
Yeah, they were great. Was it the D-bomb?
Yep.
Yeah. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing more of that with some heavier jackhammers this year. That's really
I stepped away from one thing that I learned fun fishing and tournament fishing this year was stepping away from chatterbaits and throwing swim jigs.
So,
which is because swim jigs and spinner baits. So I was throwing a spinner bait in the thickest, most nastiest, disgusting weeds because it was going through it better than the chatterbait. But they wanted something moving and flashing. And I was like, what do I have? Like, I was in a tournament and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do I have? What do I have? What do I have? And I was like, this is dumb. I'm just going to throw a spinner bait in this. And my co-angler was like, that's the stupidest thing. And he's like, oh God, I got to put a spinnerbait on.
Yep.
But sometimes that like quick split second decision in a tournament is what'll save you too.
Oh yeah.
It's like, throw something stupid. Why not? I've got no fish in the live well. Let's go.
Yep. Yeah, no, I could not agree with that anymore. That's
sometimes it works. Sometimes it's a live or die. Like you got to figure it out and run with it or die with it. One of those, you know?
Yep. Actually, so Oliver makes a good point here too on the topic of jackhammer. Throw the thunder cricket. If everybody's throwing a chatterbait, you're welcome. Slackline Bite City. Yes.
Yep.
I have just a couple of thunder crickets, but
it's crazy that little bit of difference it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
But like it's not at the same time.
It's just different enough that it makes enough difference, but it essentially still fishes the same. Gets good action out of it. And this year I meant to try a couple different things. One, more thunder cricket, and then two, more of the stealth jackhammer. And I said to myself, because I had a stupid amount of every color that I like in both 3/8 and ½ ounce. And I usually lose a good amount every year too. So I was like, yeah, you know what? As I lose more this year, I'll add more of the thunder cricket. I'll add more of the stealth blade. I didn't lose a single jackhammer this year. Which is, I'm not going to complain. It's $17 each now, I think, at this point. I'm not going to complain. But it was funny, like the whole mindset I had of expanding on this and filling out a box that's already full with even more baits is like, well, I'll lose some and I'll backfill with something different, just change it up. And of course, I didn't lose any this year. Go figure. That's just how it goes. More often than not.
Kevin, that Mini Max was killer for me this year for smallmouth bodies of water.
Who's that from? Is that Z-Man too?
Yeah.
Why is that not ringing a bell? Probably because is it just a smaller version of it?
Yep.
Okay, well, I need that.
It's just a smaller, more compact. It was deadly. I mean,
you're saying it's like an open water sniper version of itself?
yeah, kind of actually.
We gotta be careful. He's already got in trouble with them once. Oh, Kevin, 3.5 spunk shot on it. Dennis Hart did that first. Christ, that was spring of last year. Wasn't that? Yeah, it wasn't this year. That was last year. Had to have been. Yeah, because I know
my that swim jig bite that I was on.
Yep.
I was throwing a regular swim jig. The only way I could get bit was with a 5-inch Kitech on the back.
Yeah, I remember you. Yep.
It doesn't make any that bait profile was huge. And I was catching 1 pounder, 2 pounder, 6 pounder, 1 pounder, 6 pounder, 4 pounder, 1 pounder. And it was just everything was eating it.
Yeah.
And it was all year long.
That's friggin' awesome. I'm trying to think. It was spring of last year.
Last year.
And Dennis and Andrew and I went to a local spot, and he's picked up a jackhammer, and this is like a week after ice out. I'm like, buddy, I can make it work in cold water, but hats off to you because this is too cold for even me to try. And he was like, well, I got this spunk shad trailer, and I'm pretty sure he said it was a spunk shad at the time. So I want to try it. And he caught like 3 fish, and Andrew and I caught 1 each. So really slow, but it was a week after the place had iced out. So still pretty good. And it's funny because I've tried it a bunch of times since then, and that's a great little trailer on the back of a bladed jig. Gotta say. Thunder Cricket's on sale on LBF right now. Nice. Okay, we talked about beginner side of learning things, and consensus was more fun fishing, but there still can be something to learn from tournament fishing as long as you keep an open mind about it, and you're willing to be communicative with those that you're competing against, and they're willing to be communicative back.
That's the difficult part.
That is the very difficult part. That's one of those, like,
you got to have a nice community of anglers that you're working with, like you and I and Andrew and Kevin and a bunch of people that we talk with. Like, we could fish a tournament and afterwards we could talk about that.
Yep.
But we're not going to be like, yeah, I was throwing a Senko all day.
Right.
Okay.
More fun fishing, explore, pick something you want to just try to master, or at least get extreme confidence with, and move forward. Not to say you can't do the same thing in tournament situation and learn a lot from people that you fish with, like especially as a co-angler, but I would say just go out and have fun and explore. Once you get to that intermediate stage, intermediate to semi-advanced, you've learned a lot. Most of the year, you're confident you can go out and catch fish because you are catching fish most of the year, and you can do it smallmouth, largemouth, variety of water conditions, variety of weather conditions, variety of depths. 50-50. There's still so many different things you can learn fun fishing. But then in a tournament situation, you are now applying restrictions to your freedom for what you would like to do. And it's going to force your hand to do some things that you may not still be 100% like really confident with.
Yep.
And there's a lot of benefit to that as well, because again, you are removing the freedom of choice if you want to try and excel.
I find it to be more fun personally. Sometimes in that tournament, that like split decision thinking, like I'm running down the bank, I need to find fish. I'm like, that looks fishy, I'm stopping there.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm throwing yet. It looks good. Use that Rolodex of what you've learned over the years and apply something and throw it out there and learn. Did you catch fish or did you not?
Yep.
Or when you get bit, oh, I got a short strike on a tournament. Why did I get a short strike? Do I need a trailer hook? Do I need to put a trailer bait on it?
Yep.
That learning in the tournament mode, I feel like it can happen a lot quicker.
Yeah,
because you've already got
ticking.
You've got that much knowledge already in your background.
Yep.
Now you need to figure out how to apply all of that to a key, like a pinpoint accuracy. Like, let's catch a fish now.
Yep. That clock ticking forces decisions versus
whether it's right or wrong.
Right.
You still learn from it.
Yep. And even if it's wrong and you had a bad day, at least you know in those exact same conditions you will run into eventually. You're gonna know that was not the right decision. Let's not do that again. And that other thing I was thinking about, though, I'm gonna try that first this time. I'm definitely not gonna try that thing again until dead last. I hope for the best. But that clock ticking makes you be decisive. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter. It goes from fun fishing, do whatever you want. Oh damn, man, I missed the last 3 fish I've had on that. I'm just gonna keep fishing down the bank or fishing this spot and see what happens. I got 2 hours left, dude. I can't keep doing this. What the hell can I do different? Like I gotta stop what I'm doing and make that decision now because I'm running out of time and I got nothing.
And I think on that aspect, because I tournament fish so frequently, when I'm fun fishing, if I say like what you just said, I missed 3 fish doing this. If I missed 1 fish or 2 fish while I'm fun fishing, I'm immediately sitting down and be like, what's going on? What do I need to change? What do I need to fix? What's going on? Because that's exactly how I aspect and look at a tournament.
Yes.
Whether I'm fun fishing or not, once you get to that level, you start to learn and be like, I shouldn't be missing fish. Whether it was the line, the trailer, you're not, whatever.
Yep.
You learn so much from either way.
Thank you, Mama. That's my mother-in-law. She's
Oh,
great.
nice.
It's a nice sweatshirts. By
They
the
are
way,
pretty nice. That's the new one.
it's upside down, but you get the gist of it. Just got these today. So if you're thinking about coming out to the New England Fishing Expo, one of the things that are on the way. I got a few more things upstairs that are looking pretty good.
I also have to say I got a sneak peek at the flannels, and they are real nice. They are real nice.
The problem is I can't decide which one to like more.
Both.
You know what?
They're both really killer.
If anybody remembers the Big Bass Streams flannel, I'm doing something very similar, different color schemes. Would you buy a flannel?
Yes.
I am curious. I don't think they're going to sell as many as the hoodies. The hoodies always do well. So I'm trying to gauge like how much interest there would be in a Real Northern Bass flannel. I'll post stuff tomorrow. I need to get an understanding of how many people are genuinely interested in this, so I know exactly how many I got to order. Obviously not exact. I'm never.
Let me clarify. These are not chintzy flannels. Like these are very thick, very sturdy. You can wear like
brand. They're good.
Just a sweatshirt or like just a t-shirt or an undershirt and that flannel, and you will be warm. They are very nice. I've worn these in 30s, 40-degree weathers and been very comfortable. They're thick. They're super nice.
Mm-hmm. This is the same exact hoodie that we did at last year's New England Fishing Expo. It's a heavyweight cotton hoodie. It's not thin, flimsy, and cheap and crappy. And unfortunately, it's more expensive. But I mean, the hoodie I had from last year, I wore the shit out of that thing, and it's still holding up really well for just a straight cotton one.
3 years old now?
Yeah, those have held up the best out of all of them. And I wish I could do like an FXR version of it, but I love FXR, but they don't leave a lot of room to collaborate with.
No, that's true.
Because the whole chest is FXR.
Right.
Like where can I squeeze in there somewhere, guys? Please.
Those flannels are gonna be real nice. I think you're gonna underestimate how many I think you're actually gonna sell. And those color schemes are freaking sweet.
Yeah, I don't think I can go wrong with either one. Personally, I like the darker blue one, but I mean, like, I literally love everything blue, so it's my favorite color.
I thought they were both black.
But 50-50. It's an olive black and then like a dark navy blue black.
Oh, okay.
Like both. Then the problem is like which logo. We're getting off topic. We covered. We'll come back to this. Come back to this. Tune in tomorrow on all the social medias. I'll post up pictures of it. You guys can give us an idea of which one you prefer. Haha, sorry kids, no Christmas presents this year. Kevin, just order like 1,000. It's fine. Kevin, you also got me on the keychain, which actually came out great.
Those are pretty cool too.
Yeah, and you know what? Like the keychain, I didn't ask him for it. Like, this is a sample, and I got to pay for it when I pay for the bulk order. But like, I got this and the other two different colored flannels for samples, and then like my wife got it while I was at work, and she was like, "There's keychain in here." I'm like, "There's what?" She's like, "There's a keychain." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And like, I never once even dreamed of doing a keychain, but the way he did it, I was like, "Holy shit!" These came out pretty cool.
Those are really nice too.
Yeah, these coasters are.
Those are super cool.
There's a part of me that might. See, like the thing is,
I'd buy a 4-pack of those for $20 all day long.
And like,
they're really nice.
They won't cost that much. Actually, I have no idea how much these cost. I don't remember. But like, whatever all this stuff is, I'm not looking to make money off of this. Like, this is, it's not leather. It's like a fake leather, but like with a wood backing. Like, it's literally just a coaster, but like, it looks awesome.
They're really nice coasters.
Like, I would just like, it'd be fun to do those, but I'm not gonna try and make money per se off them. Like,
that's a pretty standard, like 4 for $20. Like, that's a pretty standard.
Tell you what, if it costs me $2, I'll charge $2.50 for it. Like, that just helps cover the cover. Like, okay, sorry, if it costs me $2, I'll charge $3 because I still got to cover the cost of the booth. But I don't know, like, it's not like colors. I bought it from China for 50 cents and I'm charging $5 for it.
Right.
It's just they're fun things to do. So I don't know. Are we talking jig colors or clothing? Both.
Yeah, both.
All right, we covered the beginner, we covered the intermediate. Now we go on to the advanced. It's already 9:25. People are dropping like flies. We got to wrap this up.
I think we covered most of the advanced stuff.
Yeah, early on.
Yeah, it was that same, like, pretty much essentially just taking all of the knowledge that you've learned. And like I said, I like I think I learn more now tournament fishing on the fly than fun fishing, but I'll still go out fun fishing and exploring to teach myself new techniques.
Yep. And I'm with you there. I'm going to add a wrinkle into this. When you're at that more advanced level, and it may sound arrogant, but I do feel that I'm at that advanced level. I am finding that I am definitely still learning a lot from fishing bigger tournaments. I
For sure.
do not feel that I would be learning as much if I tried to fish some local trail around here. Could I still learn? Yes. Could I learn as much as I could from fishing the BFLs? Or what I intend to do this year is the ABA Professional League?
Nice.
No. Because I'm fishing against a much broader and more extensive range of skill sets, a much higher level of skill sets where you are tending to run into a lot more people that are damn good at 1,000 different things. And on top of that,
you're fishing their home waters now.
Exactly. There is a higher number of people that is their home waters that they've known for a long time, versus at that local club level, if there's 15 boats that show up, 3 to 5 of them, that's their home waters. Like they've known that for 20, 30 years. And you're really just trying to go
10 of them.
Right. And but then you go to like the BFL, you're going to go to the ABAs, you're going to go to any of those 120 to 150 boat tournaments. Now you got 30 to 50 of those guys, if not more. And on top of that, you're also fishing against another 50 to 100 guys.
At least, yeah.
That are just good at what they do regardless. I would say probably 80% of the people that fish those, they know what the fuck they're doing.
That's why they're doing it.
Yep. And that adds a whole other level of challenge in how you go about it. Because yes, you're at that point, you're confident enough to be there. You know a thing or two, and you can figure things out fast. But you're doing that with 100+ other people that are at that same level or better, that are doing the same damn thing. And most of them are doing it for at least a full day before the tournament and during the tournament. You have to bounce around all of that. And it forces you to truly think outside the box, unless you get lucky and land on a couple of spots that you found that just panned out that for whatever reason, nobody else is sitting on.
I got lucky. During my regional, I just wasn't able to get those fish in the boat because my co-angler, he was in first place.
Yep.
I had the fish. It was just a flipping deal, and flipping, you lose fish.
Yep.
It's part of the fishing. It's like big swim bait fishing. You're gonna lose fish.
Oh yeah.
And I came back to weigh in, and I was like, I'm happy with how I fished. Did I lose fish? Yeah. Did I lose a ton of money? Yeah.
Yep.
Did I learn a lot? Yeah. Because I'd never fished Kerr Lake. I've never been to Virginia. I've never fished out of New England. And now I'm taking these steps to learn more and more and more from tournament fishing. Like, I wouldn't go travel to Virginia to go explore for fun fishing.
No, that's a long drive.
But like in the more advanced level of doing tournaments, step away from the clubs and go do a BFL. Go take the week off and go travel to Virginia or North Carolina. Just go fish a tournament. You're forced to put that knowledge to the test. Can you apply what you've learned over the years?
Right.
Yeah. Either you do or you don't.
Yep.
And that's what I enjoy a lot about fishing, is being able to apply that learned knowledge over the years. And then on the back end of that is now being able to teach people that knowledge that we've learned. Like we both do. We try and take people out, and I love teaching people. It's so fun.
Yep. It's probably one of the most fun things I really enjoy doing the most, aside from just going out there and fishing for myself, is teaching people. But expanding on everything you said, I literally just thought of this 10 seconds ago. From the learning perspective at that advanced level, tournaments, another added aspect of what tournament fishing will teach you more about than just going out fun fishing is also time management. Not just in the 8 hours you have for the tournament, or everything.
Travel, sleep,
how you manage your waters. Because, now you fish in those bigger tournaments. Most of them, a good amount of them are still 1 days, but quite a few of them are multiple day tournaments too. So now you're really going to manage the water that you're fishing, the fish you're finding. Yep. You know, how many do you sting versus what you don't sting to know that you're on the right quality? It's one thing to find the fish, but find the right size fish. They're going to get you in check range or win. That's another level. That's just all over the place.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that's like, did we do a good enough job with this topic tonight? Because I go back to my engineering brain. Like, I need structure to determine, was I successful in what I intended to do? But that's what was so appealing about this topic, was we just kind of wing it. Because there's so many different ways to look at this, from so many different nuances, that could you boil it down to just say beginner, fun fish, intermediate, either one, advanced, you probably learn more from tournaments. Done. 5 seconds. But there's so much more to it than that. And that was the fun thing I was looking forward to, was talking about all those different aspects.
That's why I was talking about it with Kara the night before. I was like, this is going to be such a fun topic, because it could go for a lot longer than we have time for. But like, there's so many different aspects of it, because each individual person learns differently, which is the biggest part of it.
Yep. Which a lot of people don't understand. And especially at leadership levels. That there is, in an ideal world, everybody learns the same. It's not how it works.
No, not even close.
I can say that I was an engineering manager for 3 years.
That's why I'm a chef. I can't be an engineer because I cannot sit there and read a book. I cannot do a desk job because when I'm putting in my menus, I'm falling asleep within 10 minutes of doing computer work.
Yep.
But if I'm on my feet 12 hours a day, I'm ready to go. Like, everybody learns differently.
Yeah. And dude, even if you throw out like different career paths, even just inside of like engineering for me, or inside of being a chef for you, there's you probably know at least a half dozen chefs between yourself and 5 others that are all excellent at what they do. And I bet you most of you learn differently from one another.
Oh, absolutely.
Despite the fact that you all excel at the exact same thing.
Right. Yep.
It's all that's that perspective.
It's like a circle.
Tom, I'm a little late, so I don't know if it was touched on, but one thing I think was a pretty big deal for me the past few years was not just fun fishing, but specifically fishing 1 to 2 lakes incredibly in depth.
Yep.
I do agree, and I also think that is one of the biggest things that stopped me from learning at a younger age. Because at that point, I think size of the lake matters greatly. Now, if those 1 to 2 lakes are, say, Champlain and Winnie, this is two, not necessarily because of they're great lakes to fish, they're massive.
And you're able to fish them diversely. So if you want to go fish shallow, you can go fish shallow and teach yourself how to fish shallow. If you want to go teach yourself how to throw crankbaits or drop shots and fish deep, you can do that. It's like that lake we fish in Vermont, where it's a smaller lake, but you can go catch fish any way that you want.
Yes.
You just have to figure out and stick with a pattern and not switch rods every 10 minutes.
Yep.
Figure it out, put a rod in your hand and learn it.
Yep. So, and then he elaborated. I'm talking like side scanning the entire place multiple times, trolling motor the entire place multiple times, made me find really nuanced places the fish got that I hadn't heard people talk about.
Yep.
Yeah, like 2000. So, yes, that is brilliant and perfectly well said. And that's the benefit of learning. And so, my opinion, all right, that's absolutely the benefit of just honing in on something like that, because you learn everything and then you fine tune, and then you take that fine tuning to the absolute highest level you can of understanding every little nuance. And there is so much opportunity for learning in that you can take and adopt. But the thing I've seen from other people, and Tom, you were definitely not one of them, is they get too comfortable with that. And now they understand the seasonal patterns behind those fish, and they start to lose the nuances of those things. So when those seasonal patterns break, they don't know what to do, because for 10 years they were there, always doing that thing, eating that thing. And what happened? And that was my biggest concern with fishing the same handful of lakes over and over again. Can you learn faster and have more like great success? Yes, 100%. Absolutely. If you're not careful, you fall into that pitfall of becoming comfortable with following those seasonal patterns and fish behaviors for that particular body of water over and over and over again. That's why I made it a point to fish as many new bodies of water as possible, because I figured if I could figure them out on the fly every friggin' weekend in different conditions on a different body of water and never fishing the same place consecutively, god damn, I felt like that would make me dangerous.
That's putting a pattern essentially that's putting a pattern together.
Whether
it's a different lake, you're still being able to learn and be like, all right, if I can go to this lake, and this lake, and can continuously catch fish, then we're good.
Yep.
I've learned something.
Yes.
If you go to this lake, and this lake, and don't catch fish, well, if you didn't learn something, there's something wrong because you didn't catch fish. So you need to go back and do it again and learn something. What did you learn? And recreate. Oh, now I caught fish. Now I caught fish. Now I caught fish.
Yes. Well said.
Boom.
That was, you know what? Honestly, is there anything else in there I'm reading that I should touch on? Stop subscribing to the Oxbow section of the river. I'm feeling attacked. Sorry, Alec.
I got to get down there and fish that part real bad still.
There's a part of me would like to go, and then there's a part of me realizes that's like a 3+ hour drive. So for the same drive time to get to the Oxbow in Connecticut is the same drive time for me to get to Mallets or to Apple Island on Champlain.
For me, it's literally just boop, straight shot down the highway.
Yeah, because you're right next to 91.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, I'm not. I got to go like back roads
this way.
The last half an hour of your drive here, it would be the first 2.5 hours of my drive down.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yes.
Oh no.
I'm not interested in doing that. Or in the same drive time, I could be on Champlain.
Yeah.
Decisions.
It's hard for me to move where I'm at located because I can go down to Mass and fish there in an hour and a half. I can go on to Champlain in 2 hours, the south end or the north end. Either way, I'm still 2 hours away.
Yeah, the only downside to where you are is you have a lot more snow in your yard than I do mine.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it's not much of a big problem. I know, Dropman, I might be down there Saturday. We'll see. I don't think they are. Jody, are you still here? Is our spot still open? I'd like to be there Saturday if I don't go for stripers.
Vermont lakes are all still open unless they're smaller bodies of water, like tiny bodies of water. Vermont, New Hampshire, for the most part, are all open.
Yeah.
Especially after tonight.
You know what? I'll see what the weather does. Will only has
the river might suck after this couple days though.
Yeah, with the rain,
the flood.
Yeah,
and then you got the melt from the snow and everything. It's gonna be, the rivers might be a little sketchy.
I'm good with. I almost went there this past weekend and decided not to fish Sunday. Kind of killed me a little bit inside, but I did get a lot of things done that I really was putting off for way too long. Like 8 hours of inventory on everything, Defiant, Big Bass Streams, inventory and reorganizing. We're all set for the New England show. It's gonna be great. There's a lot of work, but I'm looking forward to getting out this weekend. And you know, with this rain, I might be able to get out locally on Sunday. I would have half a day. I had to be back home by 1. We'll see. I don't know. Tell you what, this was great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
Glad you could join it. And
do a little shameless plug about the show coming up.
You want to talk about it? I talked about it last weekend. Your time.
Might as well do it again.
Do
it. The New England show is going to be, and is always, the most amazing, awesome show going on in New England. We're going to have myself. I'll be at Big Bass Dreams booth representing Big Bass Dreams and Defiant. We'll have Sean right next to us.
All three in one big 10x30 booth, just like last year.
We got
this year, technically, actually.
We should have a couple of new products for Big Bass Dreams and Defiant that are really cool.
As well as 2 other brands.
Which we're keeping on the down low for now. But they got some really cool stuff coming out. So make sure to get to the show this year. It's going to be great.
Yep. Aside from that, aside from those 3 booths that we'll have, and then actually 3 other brands that were represented inside of those booths, because they're not their own. They are their own brands, but it is part of a bigger collaborative image that is happening. But aside from that, obviously Ben's Tackle Shack will be there with pretty much the majority of his store, which is always great. They have a ton of stuff. So if you're just looking to get general fishing tackle, not anything brand specific, then Ben's will have you covered. They have all of that. Douglas Rods will be there. I know Beast Coast Fishing will be there. Swimbaits, who's in here, they'll be there. Trying to think who else will be there. Swimbait Universe will be there. So if you're looking
They
to get
just
into the big
announced
swimbait
that,
game,
yep.
then you're gonna have plenty of opportunities for that.
Berkshire Bass will be there.
Yes.
And they have the biggest selection of mega bass that you will see anywhere in New England. Like
y'all want to go spend some money?
every mega bass, everything, especially jerkbaits. Jerkbaits don't work, especially the 110s. Don't buy them. But he will have every single color that you can imagine.
Yeah.
Literally
Like,
every color.
It's insane how much megabass stuff that they bring to the show. And before I even was going there to work with any of the companies I work with, and then now last couple of years myself,
you kind of stop in place
he
when you
was
walk by
there.
that thing. You're like, oh God.
I spent money. I still do spend money with him every year. He's always there with a bunch of megabass stuff. And there's always a jerkbait that I see. I'm like, I could use that color. It's either color I don't have, or it's like, I could use an extra one of those. Without fail, every time. I spend too much money on those shows. I'm not getting a swim bait from the show this year.
Good luck.
Outside of whatever we will hopefully have in the Big Bass Dreams and Defiant booth.
What if Lanciati shows up?
I've already got one. I don't have a 3-piece. I have a Psycho Gale, but it's like, the OG 2-piece.
The 3-piece.
I know I need a 3-piece.
A 3-piece trout and whatever.
No, because I already have one of those from other companies. I don't.
Yeah.
I need another swim bait. Like I need a hole in my head, man. Like I'm gonna get another glide because I'm dumb and I'm addicted to it despite the lack of success that we like to hope. We need to wrap this up. It's 9:40. Holy hell! All right, for anybody that's still here, appreciate you troopers, for hanging on, listening to rambling for the last hour and 42 minutes. I don't know what we're doing next week, but there will be a topic next week, and hopefully I'll have a few more guests once I figure out what the hell it is we're going to talk about. So we'll keep it more structured next time. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you all very much. Greatly appreciate it. We'll see you back here Wednesday, as always, 8 p.m. Eastern. YouTube.com/@ReelNorthernBass. Andrew, it's not that hard. We love you, buddy.
I was going to say, come on, you nailed it.
Everybody have a great night.